Well, good afternoon, everyone. I think Aaron's got one thing he's trying to set up here real quick, and we'll get started. All right, good afternoon, everyone. We're going to gavel in on the AMATS Technical Advisory Committee. We're going to call to order on this October 8th, 2020 meeting. Mr. Lyon, can you please do the roll call?
Yes, sir. Everyone hear me? Sounds like a yes.
Present.
All right, Mr. Van Hove.
Yeah.
Mr. Stitchick. Ms. Kilcoyne.
Present.
Mr. Lindemood. Ms. Acton.
Present.
Ms. McNulty.
Here.
Mr. Linnell.
Present.
Mr. Rebuffo.
Here.
Mr. Colhays.
Yo.
Mr. Alimi.
Present.
And Mr. Kratz.
Present.
And we have a quorum.
Thank you. Okay, can you please do, Mr. Lyon, can you please do the public involvement announcement?
Yes, sir. All AMATS committee meetings are open to the public. Public is provided an opportunity to comment at each meeting. We'll have, for business items, we'll have a presentation by staff or a consultant, and after that, the committee will be given a chance to discuss it. And after the committee has discussed the item, the public is invited to comment.
Thank you, Mr. Lyon. Okay, we're on to approval of the agenda. Do we have an approval of the agenda?
Move to approve. This is Todd. I second it.
Okay, sorry, I didn't hear who moved to approve.
That was Steve Rebuffo, move to approve.
Thank you. And who is the second?
I wrote down Mr. Van Hove.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yep.
Any discussion on the agenda? Okay, is there any objections to the approval of the agenda? Okay, hearing none, the agenda is approved. Let's see, we are on to approved meeting minutes. Mr. Lyon, we do not have any meeting minutes for approval, is that true?
We do not. I have the September 10th ones on my desk for review, so we will have them next month.
Thank you. Okay, we are moving on to action items. Moving on to agenda item 5A, the 2021 budget for the AMATS Unified Work Plan, Unified Planning Work Program. Mr. Lyon, can you please present that?
Yes. So this is staff time for 2021, what we expect staff to be working on in 2021. We do a 2-year work program. We have the 2020 to 2021 work program, and this is just the budget for 2021. We just received our allocation from the state, and we're looking at a slight increase from last year. We do have ICAP that will be coming off of that, but combined the two together, we'll just have a slight increase over last year, which is fine. So what you have before you is our thoughts on staff's thoughts on what we're going to be spending our time on next year. It's a lot of the same stuff we were working on this year, although we will be hopefully done with several of the big items like the Spinard Road you'll have on your agenda today. The non-motorized plan we hope to be done before the end of the year. So we'll be picking up street typologies and the TDM and hopefully the TISMO plan if we can track down the match for that. So and starting up the MTP and then also moving forward with the beginnings of the next tip. So again, this is staff time that we're expecting to be spent in the next year. So you have the budget before you and the memo, which hopefully you've gotten a chance to look at, and we're asking you to recommend this to the policy committee for approval this month.
Okay, thank you.
Questions?
Thank you, Mr. Lyon. Are there any questions from or comments from the committee on this item? Okay, the public was invited to comment by notifying us their desire to comment. Do we have any items, Aaron, that anybody wanted to comment on this one?
Nobody emailed us, but we need to give it about 30 to 45 minutes for the Teams Live to catch up.
Okay, so we're going to pause here and let the Teams Live catch up a little bit just in case somebody wanted to comment on this.
Mr. Chair, the only modification I know of that I need to make on the budget that is shown before you is I had last year's match number in there because I wasn't sure yet what it was. I created this before we had the final letter from the state. So the match I have in there is 133,316, and it should actually be 161,227, and that is an in-kind match. As you well know, it is the in-kind match that we use. We capture the stuff that your data group is doing in the traffic department. And so we'll just need to capture a little bit more of the work that you folks are already doing. So that's the only difference that I need to tweak before it goes to the policy committee.
Thank you. Are we good, Aaron?
No comments.
Okay, so we don't have any public comments on this. Do we have any members from the policy committee that are listening that would like to comment on this one?
This is Wolfgang. I'm going to have no comment at this time.
Weddleton's here, no comment.
Okay, thank you. Okay, what's the will of the committee on this item?
This is Todd Van Hove. I recommend approval of the 2021 UPWP budget and forwarding it on to the policy committee.
This is Michelle McNulty. I second.
Thank you. Is there any discussion on this item from the committee? Okay, are there any objections to approving the motion? All right, hearing none, the motion's approved. Thank you. So we are now moving on to 5B. The 2050 Metropolitan Transportation Plan, MTP update. Mr. Lyon, can you please present?
Well, I'll start, but really this is Aaron's creature. He did all the work on it, but as you folks remember, when we start an MTP update, we like to have a resolution that kind of lays out the ground rules for what we're looking at and what we'll be focusing on in the update. And so Aaron crafted the resolution based on the one we had done however many years ago, 4 years or so ago, for the previous update that we just adopted. And that's what's before you. So Aaron, you want to fill in the blanks on that, or is that good?
This is Aaron Young-Gillen, AMATS Senior Planner. So as we are starting the update for the 2050 MTP, similar to the 2040 MTP, we wanted to put together a resolution that kind of gave some parameters on what's going to be updated and how things are going to be updated for this MTP. So of note, you'll see in the memo in front of you, as well as the resolution itself, we talk about updating the goals and objectives and the scoring criteria based on input from the 2040 MTP that we received at the very end, that we were unable to incorporate in the 2040 MTP, but we will use as a starting basis for the 2050 update. And then we also outlined that we need to have a horizon year of minimum 20 years as required by FHWA in the statutes. And then kind of some various other things that we're going to be updating that we're required to do. An air quality requirement that we have to have, so we have to have a determination. And then we're going to update the socioeconomic assumptions and the land use information. And then we'll have the public involvement requirements. We don't specifically say all public involvement that we're going to do in this resolution, because that's going to be later on when we get the RFP done and we get a consultant on board and they kind of outline the public involvement plan for the MTP, which you guys will see. And then we also have any corrective actions that we need to add in here from the 2019 AMATS certification review, which I believe is only one thing. It's making sure that we set a schedule to have this MTP updated in time without going into a grace period. So just as a heads up, the grace period will start October 27th of 2024. So my goal with the 2050 MTP is do a pretty quick update of everything to get a draft document done, and then spend a year and a half or 2 years doing the public involvement process. Because one of the things we encountered with the last MTP is we got a lot of public involvement in the end when it was too late to make any updates to the document. And so I think people felt a little slighted in that regard. So what I want to do is kind of flip it on its head and say, okay, let's get the document ready and together and out the door pretty quickly so people can react to it, give us their comments, and then we can come back as a group, as AMATS, the CAC Policy Committee, CAC, everyone, and take those comments we received and incorporate them into the document and update them where possible. So I think that's about all I had. So thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Aaron and Craig. Let's see, any questions or comments from the committee on this item?
This is Michelle McNulty. I have a proposed amendment to the resolution.
Okay, let's, can we wait until we get a motion on that, Michelle? And we're going to go through and, okay, thank you. But thanks for the heads up.
Okay.
Anybody else? Questions, comments from the committee?
Yeah, this is DME Alimi from the Air Quality Division of Alaska Department of Environmental Conservation. I would also like to propose an amendment to the air quality portion of the resolution.
Okay, let's get through the comment stuff and then we'll get into that. Thank you. Thanks for the heads up. Anyone else from the committee?
This is John Linnell with DOT. Aaron, as part of the fiscal constraint of the MTP, one of the things that seemed to really trip us up on the last one was not having the variety of different funding broken out into separate spreadsheets and tables indicating that that funding can't go across into other tables and spreadsheets. I think if we incorporate that somehow into the fiscal constraint, it will help move the process forward with less controversy.
This is Aaron. So are you asking about indicating whose money is whose?
I think that would be good, making it plainly clear that the funding needs to stay within those categories and can't move into other categories.
I guess I don't know what you mean by categories, because the STBG funding is pretty flexible. But if you're talking about if it's like DOT's money going towards non-DOT projects, that was something we had talked about doing, and it would be definitely something we would consider this go around to take a look at how that would go. So here's all the munis funding that goes towards muni projects. Here's the DOT funding that goes towards DOT projects. But state funding can go towards anything, so we'll have to be careful how we do that. And then AMATS funding can go towards anything. So it's something we can easily work with the committees on how best to show this information to make it less confusing.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay, any other questions or comments from the committee on this item? Okay, the public was invited to comment. Do we have anybody from the public wanted to
No one
comment?
emailed anything.
No email? Okay.
Okay.
Okay, so we didn't have anybody email in or request to comment on this item, but we're going to pause here because again, the live session is a little bit behind us, so we're going to wait a few seconds here. Just waiting for Aaron to give me the thumbs up on that. It's surprising how much of a pause there is between the live and.
Okay, no comments are coming.
Okay, looks like we don't have any comments. So what's the will of committee on this this item? Michelle, do you want to go ahead and start since or do we need to?
Do I need to move to?
Sorry, yeah, we need a motion and a second to approve, and then we can get into amendments if it's
Okay.
if that's what the committee wants to go for.
Great. Well, I'll throw it out there. I move to move and approve resolution recommending adoption of key assumptions and parameters guiding the preparation of the draft AMATS 2050 Metropolitan Transportation Plan update under Resolution 2020-001.
This is Adiemi Alimi. I second.
Thank you. Okay, discussions from the committee on this item.
This is Michelle McNulty. I would like to propose a change to the whereas statement starting under line 33. So it's the one that starts off with whereas the goals and objectives. My first recommended movement or update would be adding a period, actually replacing the comma and adding a period after the 2006 update in parentheses and between that and the MTP goals.
Okay.
And then, so we're then changing the language starting at objectives. So objectives will be reviewed and confirmed as still relevant and consistent with the adopted change start here 2040 Anchorage Land Use Plan and Chugiak Eagle River Land Use Plan. Keep the and any district or functional plans adopted or updated since the 2040 MTP update. And I can put that in the chat.
Okay, thank you. So that's changed to line 33, and then it looks like change to what, line 37? Am I right here?
Yes.
So this is Matt Stitchick. Are we needing a second on the amendment?
I think so, yes.
I'll second.
Okay. Okay, so correct me if I'm wrong here, but we're going to have a vote on the amendment that Michelle has proposed, and it was seconded by Mr. Stickich. Yes.
Stitchick.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Sorry. So is anybody opposed to the amendment? This will hopefully make things easier. Do we hear?
So
Are there any objections to the approving of the amendment?
Yeah, Kent Colhayes here, John. I have no objections. I was wondering if maybe either you or Michelle, whoever has the verbiage, could read it one more time for me, just for clarity.
Okay. Michelle, could you go ahead and read it again, please?
Yeah, and through the chair, I'm happy to. And also, just so everyone's aware, I just put it in the meeting chat. The items are highlighted in yellow, but it would be replacing a comma and adding a period between the 2006 update and MTP. And then about line 37, adding in with the adopted 2040 Anchorage Land Use Plan and Chuyak Eagle River Land Use Plan, and any district or functional plans adopted or updated since the 2040 MTP update. So what that's doing is it just references the 2020 plan. There was not an adopted land use plan with that. So this is recognizing that there is an adopted land use plan that should also be reviewed with any updates. And then we also, are continually updating or adopting plans as part of the comp plan and other plans such as the climate action plans that we may want to revisit or look at as we update the 2050 plan. So it's just making sure that that's clear that that's an expectation.
Thank you, Michelle.
Well,
Okay, thank you. So we're still back at approval of this amendment. Are there any objections to approving the amendment? Okay, that amendment's approved. Thank you. Do we have more discussion on this item from the committee?
Yeah, this is DME Alimi. I would like to have an amendment to the verbiage on line 17 to line 22. The air quality modeling and analysis. I would like to add a sentence after the emissions for more clarity. So, Mr. Lyon, could you help me share? Okay. Could you help me share the amendment that I sent to you earlier?
Mr. Chair, I did send the language around just now that Mr. Alimi is proposing, so you should have that in your inbox. Theoretically, I guess I could share it here if I take over the screen. Whatever you'd like me to do, whatever you prefer.
Why don't you go ahead and take over the screen, please?
Okay. Let me figure that out. Okay. Can we see the screen now? Can you see the email that was sent?
Can you blow it up?
Yeah, it's pretty small, Mr. Lyon.
It's huge on my screen right now.
For those of us over 60?
What's that?
For those of us over 60, can you make that a little bit?
Let me see if I can move that.
Hey, I'm under 60 and I still want it bigger.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see here. Let's try. Does that look any better? Can we read that? Maybe that's not working. Let me get the right one. I have to get that one shared. Let me stop for a second and then share this one. My reply.
I stole your screen, Craig. I think I have it blown up on my screen if folks can see that.
How's it?
There we go.
Does that look better?
Oh, you stole it back. Okay.
Stole it back. We can read that?
That's a thing of beauty. Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah.
What can I do for you? Okay. So the items,
Yeah.
see that in red, those are Mr. Alimi's changes, and we're good with that. Staff is.
Yeah, this is Alimi. I'm proposing this amendment because it gives more clarity. So that's why I'm proposing this.
This is Matt Stichik. I will also second Alimi's amendment.
Thank you. Okay, any discussion from the committee on this amendment? Okay, are there any objections to approving the motion, the amendment? Okay, that amendment is also approved. So we are back to the original motion, or is there any other discussion from the committee on this item? Okay, are there any objections to approving the item? We have 2 amendments on it. Okay, hearing none, that motion is approved. And I believe we are moving on to 5C. Item 5C, the AMATS 2021 safety target memo. Craig, Mr. Lang, will you please present?
I will. So these are the performance measures. The safety targets are the ones that we need to adopt every year. Some of the other ones have a longer time frame, but these ones we adopt every year. And we work with the state. We are in the group that works with the working group that works with the state to adopt theirs. So it's a cooperative entity there that creates these for the state. And then, as you remember, we have the option of establishing our own safety targets or agreeing to support the state targets. And I think partly because we are part of the group that comes up with the state's targets, it just makes sense to adopt the state's targets. Not to mention, we also have, we don't currently collect this information at AMATS, and the state has all this information, this data. So it kind of makes sense to us that we continue to adopt the state's targets. In addition, the numbers are, as far as I know, going down. So that's a good thing. They went down in, I believe, all categories except for non-motorized, the combined fatalities and non-motorized serious injuries. So I think I have that right, Aaron. Correct me if I'm wrong, but so our request is to have you folks recommend to the policy committee to adopt the state's safety targets, to support those state targets, I should say.
Okay, thank you. Aaron, do you have anything you want to add to that? No? Okay.
Oh, sorry, this is Aaron Youngin, AMATS Senior Planner. One of the things in the 2040 MTP that we called out was to do an AMATS safety plan. And at this point, we haven't done an AMATS safety plan. So in the future, our hope is to do the AMATS safety plan. It really gives us the data we need to be able to set our own targets within the AMATS area.
All right, thank you. Okay, any questions or comments from the committee on this item?
Mr. Chair, before we get to that, can I let the record show that Mr. Lindamood just joined us?
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Sorry, I'm late.
When I'm sharing screen, I can't see people coming in and out, so thank you very much.
Yep.
Okay, any questions or comments from the committee on this item? Okay. Sorry, go ahead.
I know we talked about this, but could you explain the difference in the changes in the targets for 2020?
Mr. Lang, can you?
So by differences, you just mean the number. I mean, it's their target for 18 and 19 were the same. If you see them in the middle, and the target that they're showing is higher. But I honestly don't remember why that number jumped up higher. I don't know if Mr. Linnell or Amundsen knows, or actually Mr. Van Hove too. I think some of us were in that same meeting, but their target for 21 is back to plus or minus 75, although the target for 80 was higher. So we're going the right way, I think. I don't know if that answers your question at all.
Well, the target's in the right way, but the trend is not necessarily a whole lot better. We're pretty much holding right at the annual average.
Okay, any other questions or comments from the committee? Okay, the public was invited to comment. Aaron, do we have any? We don't have anybody on. No emails. But again, we're gonna pause here for a little bit, just in case somebody on the live wants to comment on that. I think Mr. Van Hove had to step away, so I think we're just, that's my understanding. That's what I'm being told. So I just wanted to mention that to everyone. Still waiting on the thumbs up from no comments from the public on this. Would any members of the policy committee like to comment on this item?
No comment from Weddleton, thanks.
Okay, thank you. What's the will of committee on this item?
This is Matt Stichik. I will make a motion to recommend approval of the proposed 2021 safety targets.
This is John Linnell. I'll second.
Thank you. Is there discussion from the committee on this item? Okay, are there any objections to approving the motion? All right, hearing none, the motion's approved. Thank you. So we are moving on to agenda item 5D, disciplinary corridor plan, public review draft. Mr. Line, can you please present?
I'll do you one better. I will have Joni Wilm and Steve Tobish present as the co-managers of that plan.
Excellent, thank you.
Both on the line.
Hello, can you guys hear me okay?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay, great. Steve's gonna join me too. I don't know if his camera's on, but we have a presentation for you, so I'm going to attempt to share my screen right now. And let me know if you can see it. Whoops. Can everyone see the presentation screen?
I can see it.
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
Excellent. All right, awesome. Well, thank you again for the opportunity to present to you today on the Spenard Corridor Plan. We have taken this plan through a lengthy public involvement process, which has involved your committee and the policy committee, the Planning and Zoning Commission, and the Anchorage Assembly. So we are in front of you today to hopefully get your approval to send the plan forward to the policy committee for approval. And we have a table of comments that you should have that include all of the public review comments we received, as well as the Planning and Zoning Commission comments and the Assembly comments, any proposed changes. So you should have all that in front of you, and I also have that table up if anyone wants to see it at a later time. So just to get started in on my presentation, this plan is again a combination of AMATS planning efforts and long-range planning efforts to combine transportation and land use. This next slide is just shows, sort of give you some refresh your memory, how many times this plan has been before this committee, Technical Advisory Committee. So starting in June of 2017, all the way up to today, which is the 8th time. We also had 3 additional work sessions between July and October of 2019 of last year. So you've seen it quite a bit, and we're just gonna do a brief overview, and let us know if you have any questions.
Joni,
So
can I just chime in on that?
Yes, go for it.
This is Steve on that last slide. The last 3 items that we met with TAC were especially fruitful and greatly helped involve the plan to the public hearing document. Just wanted to put that in there.
Yes, thank you, Thede. Yes, we did have a quite extensive review and comment period from several members of the Technical Advisory Committee, including DOT and the railroad and long-range planning. And so we appreciate all that work and time that you already put into it. So it did really help shape our plan up to be adopted by the Assembly. So thank you. So Chapter 1, again, just the planning team refresher, again, Thede and myself with AMATS and long range planning. Our lead consultant was Winter Company. They are national experts in the field of urban design, transit-oriented development, and historic preservation. And then we did try to include several local experts in the fields of transportation engineering, architecture, web design, marketing, and then public involvement. Those were all local consultants here in Anchorage. And most of them actually, I think, in fact, all of them are located in Spenard area as well. Chapter 1 also goes into the purpose of the plan. So we recognized going into this almost 4 years ago that there had been previous planning efforts that had already taken place. It's well known that Spenard is full of underutilized lots, and there are quite a few places with reinvestment potential. In addition, the ongoing Spenard Road improvements that we all know were completed last summer from Hillcrest to 30th. In addition, Federal Highway Administration provides AMATS with funding, and they have been encouraging municipalities and MPOs to incorporate transit-oriented development planning. Because that effort of planning combines, again, like I said, transportation and land use, and it is it's a good, more comprehensive way to do things. So we're trying to follow suit with that and make this plan one of our first transit-oriented development plan. Chapter 1 also looks at the plan area. Again, you can see our area over here. We tried to go about a half mile from the Spenard Corridor Road, with our east and west boundaries being Arctic Boulevard on the east, Wisconsin Street on the west, and the north and south being Hillcrest Drive and International Airport Road. Our public involvement process, again, like I mentioned before, was very extensive. We began with a formation of the Spenard Advisory Committee, which oversaw the plan throughout and was very involved. We held several community workshops. We showed up at several community council meetings. Thede and I went to the farmers market and food truck festival to, here's some pictures of us on the right, to present our planning efforts to the public and get their feedback. Once the public review draft was released, we scheduled an open house, which was well attended, and we gathered more public comments. As I mentioned before, we've seen this committee, the policy committee, and then many times, and then latest efforts, we got through the Planning and Zoning Commission, and the plan was adopted by the Anchorage Assembly just last month to become part of the comprehensive Anchorage plan. Chapter 2 gets into vision and goals. These vision and goals were formed at the very beginning of the plan, basically with community input from a public workshop that we held. We also initiated a survey that I think we gathered over 500 comments or survey responders. We also had input from advisory groups and stakeholder focus groups. The overall vision can be summarized on the graphic, with the graphic on the right. It has 7 key aspects to it. Basically, folks wanted Spenard to be a model for Anchorage, a place to experiment with different types of development, a lifestyle destination, a place to call home for the many residents who already live there, a business destination, an alternative for visiting downtown, and then lastly, a branded district to help with economic investment and potential. Chapter 2 gets into the vision and goals as well. Sorry, we're already in chapter 2, but anyways, the goals, there are 15 goals. I'm just going to read through them again because they are present throughout the plan, and then we also see them again in the implementation chapter at the end. So starting out with the first goal, this one is an overriding theme throughout the plan and is a priority goal for the plan and the community, and that is to support transit and increase ridership. Secondly, recognize Spenard as a destination. Celebrate the culture of Spenard and Anchorage. Spenard has a lot of historic culture, as you all know. Enhance and protect the neighborhoods surrounding Spenard. Create great public spaces. Pursue development of activity nodes, which we will point to in the framework map a little bit later. Connect Spenard to the greater Anchorage area. Create a safe pedestrian and bicycle network. Integrate Fish Creek as a centerpiece of Spenard. This was very important to the community as well. They'd love to see Fish Creek showcased and celebrated. Accommodate safe and balanced roadway access. And then our last page here, accommodate and manage parking. Design for Anchorage and its winter climate that we have here. Prioritize sustainability and resilience. Create a climate for investment, and finally, focus on strategic economic efforts. So that sums up chapter 2. Chapter 3 gets into the framework, and I'll just start this chapter off and then let Theed get into more of the details. But basically, one of the first things we did was divide the planning area into 3 different sections: a north, central, and south district. Each of those sections, or excuse me, each of those districts then had characteristics that we attributed to their specific area. The North District, and I won't read all of these, but basically is sort of like the heart of Spenard. It's more urban in nature, and we wanted it to have a lot of residential and retail and restaurant opportunities and spaces for creativity. The Central District is more neighborhood serving and more traditional neighborhood design. With some larger scale development. It's also recognized as a place where a transit hub, a more major transit hub, could be located. And then the South District vision, is known more for its sort of stable neighborhood that's already there, and then also trying to bring in that tourism that you get from the airport with folks coming out there and staying there. And then it's also recognized as a major gateway into the Spenard area from the south when you're coming from the airport. So this framework map that was created is pretty unique to our planning efforts. We don't really have a map that shows all of these different features, or we haven't really had a map in the past that shows all these different features. But I'll just go over them briefly and then let Theed elaborate. So this one again shows the north, south, and central sections. We show existing and future primary and secondary networks. There's places on here where you can see a place for an enhanced street crossing, potential parking areas, more gateways, a transit hub, and potential intersection changes. Dee, did you want to say anything else about this map?
No, I think you covered that.
Okay. Next, chapter 3 also looks at circulation and connectivity. So just dialing down a little bit on more specifically connecting everything. There are these existing primary and future primary active networks, which can be seen in the blue, light blue, and dark blue. Those are the roads and networks that connect Spenard to the greater Anchorage area and surrounding neighborhoods and downtown and the airport and such. The secondary active networks are meant to be networks that connect residents or visitors to other areas within the planning boundary, and then they also connect to the primary networks, and then they also connect to key destinations within the planning area. And you can see here, I don't know if you can see my cursor, but this map also identifies potential festival streets, which we'll talk about a little bit later in the district concepts in chapter 4. So, and then lastly, before I hand this off to Theed, This is a map that came about from our technical advisory committee that was suggested to us by DOT, and they thought it'd be really beneficial to see areas where the MTP could come into play, investing in certain areas to, notify potential intersection changes and things like that. So that was a map that we incorporated into the document. And then Thee's going to talk more about land use in the next few slides.
Thanks, Jenny. So this map is Chapter 3's version of the land use composite, which summarizes the West Anchorage District Plan land use designations, which evolved into the 2040 land use plan land use designations. And this is the base map for which we pursued more detail in Chapter 4 in the land use section of Chapter 4. So this is the basic starting point map. Okay. Also, Chapter 3 is part of the framework. Spent a lot of effort identifying what they're calling placemaking opportunities. These include areas of existing and future key visual and physical access points into the district, highlighted in the red there, red circles. It also goes into detail of the key intersections, both existing and future potential key intersections, where traffic as well as pedestrian access is essential and important to the district's function. It also identifies 3 future transit hubs based on existing and future access areas and high traffic areas to enhance access to and to sustain future transit use. That's it, thanks. We also in Chapter 3 and later on in Chapter 5 go into some detail about parking and how the district, as the district evolves, the need for focused strategic parking areas. These are areas out to a half-mile radius from focal points where future commercial concentrations and higher densities of residential development will focus the public. So these are areas where we hope to have future public parking facilities, both structures and surface, and new policies on parking that help to enhance the commercial areas and allow public access, enhance public access, and to sustain those commercial uses. Thank you. Next. So we get into Chapter 4, which is the land use and district specific concepts chapter. Each of the 3 sub areas of the district have a composite land use map, which includes land use designations, street type designations, and the placemaking opportunities you saw earlier. It's a unique way of showing land use combined with the transportation elements. So each of the 3 districts has that map. It also has this example like this map here, which is more of a conceptual land use map. And each of the 3 districts also has a model shown to show how the future development projects that the plan calls for actually can fit into the existing framework and existing conditions. So these illustrations here, there's 3 of them for one for each district. They're purely conceptual in nature, and they're meant to be a visual access to the potential policies and redevelopment capabilities of the area. So here you have the North District example. The base on this map is existing conditions and buildings. It shows future buildings based on the land use designations in the colors, the brighter colors. For instance, there's a mixed use residential commercial development, large scale, small scale, medium scale, that type of thing. In office areas, it also shows future parking structures or enhanced parking, public parking. So you can see that the build out shows the area where REI used to be at Spenard and Northern Lights as being further built out with new buildings and encompassed by a pedestrian plaza. So that's close to also close to the transit hub there, sort of dead center of this slide. So it's just a visual model showing that how it would look based on existing conditions, that it can actually happen. Okay.
Yeah, and I just gonna say real quick too, I mean, the point of the district specific concepts also is just to give the public those an idea of kind of what's possible in their neighborhood, so they can sort of see what some of these developments could look like.
So for the central district, again, this is a conceptual map showing future redevelopment possibilities built around or within existing framework conditions. And this area focuses at the Spenard Road, McRae Road intersection, just west of the railroad, essentially, where another transit hub is foreseen and where there's a potential for future commuter rail, way in the future, of course, a synergy there. So there's enhanced commercial mixed-use development in the turquoise buildings. They're new, proposed possible new 2 to 3 story mixed-use buildings, and more pedestrian plaza type access on the north side where the transit hub and the possible commuter rail corridor might be. Again, it's a visual concept map at best to show that it works. Okay. And then we move to the South District. So the very south end of the South District, almost at International Road, is a key highlight redevelopment area. There's scattered redevelopment potential along the road otherwise, but this is where the planning team focused a lot of redevelopment effort, including a pedestrian plaza around the east end of Lake Spenard by the hotel district. And then on the other side of the road in the southeast corner there, new mixed use upgraded development with higher intensities of land use, a community garden to focus the public and the residents, as well as better access points to and from Spenard Road in the neighborhood. Okay.
Oh, thanks, Steve. Okay, so I'm going to jump in here on chapter 5, which is all about circulation and connectivity. Basically, this chapter lays out some policies and then provides some ideas for folks on how we could improve circulation within the area. The basic 6 policies that were decided on for the plan are these, and I'll just read them. Creating a balanced street network, creating a street typologies plan, designing the roadway as a connected grid, managing access and mitigating modal conflicts within the area, enhancing the bicycle network, and then prioritizing pedestrian travel throughout the planning area. There are a lot of elements to this chapter, but these were some of the more handy diagrams, I think, just to give the folks that aren't transportation planners some tools and some ideas of what's possible. There are a lot of roads in Spenard that have limited right-of-way, so we wanted our consultants to draw up some options for what a road could look like if you're trying to retrofit it to become more bicycle and pedestrian friendly or a little bit safer. So those 4 diagrams in the middle are examples of a 30-foot right-of-way being retrofitted to include facilities like I just mentioned. The one on the lower left is actually a diagram to show more what a complete street could look like. This is fireweed, similar to the retrofit that Spenard went under, taking the 4 lanes down to 3. One of the differences here with this diagram is that there is a separated bicycle and pedestrian facility separated by a landscape buffer. I believe on Spenard there's not a landscape buffer. They've got the bike lanes on the street. And then I think there's a landscape buffer and then the widened sidewalk. But at any rate, so give folks some ideas of what's possible. The diagram on the far right is a tool helping us figure out how to minimize conflicts along the roadway. So in this particular diagram, the consultant identified where all the existing driveways are to give us a better idea of where we might be able to consolidate those driveways and reduce conflicts between vehicles and pedestrians and bicyclists. So that's an example of that. And this one also identifies major and minor crossings and some potential areas for mid-block crossings as well. Also in this chapter, we look at amenities such as bicycle amenities, including bicycle parking, bike share opportunities, bike storage and lockers, and then some more on-site bike connections. And then lastly, this chapter looks at trying to solve some of the parking issues that currently Spenard has, and those include giving people more flexible parking requirements in our Title 21 and zoning ordinances, figuring out how to design more compact parking areas, promoting shared parking between the businesses in Spenard, and then also promoting other more efficient management of parking than currently exists. That gets us into Chapter 6, so we're almost done here. Chapter 6 is all about existing infrastructure, and so we looked at the existing water, storm drain, and sewer for the area. We also looked at how the consultants look at where those services need to be expanded to accommodate the existing and future populations. And then finally, our Chapter 7 implementation. I'm just going to read through these strategies and then let Thee do the final 2 slides here. But we really wanted the implementation section, the chapter, to be used. And I find that in my years of planning, I feel like the implementation chapter is oftentimes the very most important chapter, because if you don't make it clear how the community and the muni is supposed to implement this plan, it just ends up sitting on a shelf. So we didn't want that to happen. So started out with some goals for the implementation chapter. Number 1 is to prepare for a 30+ year build out. So we're not going to do everything at once. It's going to take time. Number 2 is to reduce the development barriers that currently exist within the area. Target feasible development as the market matures. Build Spenard's market incrementally. Target a walkable land use mix. And then these last 4 here, target properties that are already ripe for redevelopment. And I mentioned earlier, there are a lot of properties we already know of that are ready for reinvestment potential. Incentivize development, encourage tax increment financing, and then finally explore special assessment districts within the planning area. And then Thee's going to talk about these final 2 slides on the implementation chapter.
Yeah, I just wanted to start by saying this chapter provides a great summary of economic and market conditions and opportunities and barriers found in Spenard. And a great example of a targeted area development that was up there on that list right now is being pursued in the Chugach Way area of the central part of Spenard. So the middle section of Chapter 7 is a basic recipe book, a guidebook for implementation. It includes action items listed in 4 categories up the top there. It's administrative, so that would be future additional study area plans or projects of that nature to evaluate future development concepts. There's regulatory actions, which would be policies and procedure changes, as well as changes to Title 21, for instance. Financial ideas, financial actions would be incentives, ways to increase funding or share funding or balance funding for projects, for baseline projects, and then capital improvement actions, which would be actual construction. Those actions are all listed in time frame of immediate time frame, which is 0 to 2 years, midterm time frame 2 to 15 years, and then the long term out to the 30-year horizon. And then the last section of the Chapter 7 includes a full table, a very long table, which is the next slide, showing every policy that has been extracted here out of each chapter and assigned at least 1 action item in the middle column there. It identifies the agency partner and the responsible partner for each of those actions, provides the time frame, and also shows if funding would be required to make that action happen. And it's quite a lengthy guidebook for growth and implementation. That's it.
Excellent. So that wraps up our presentation, and we'd be happy to take any questions from the committee.
Okay, thank you, Joni and Thede. So do we have any questions or comments from the committee on this item? Okay, again, the public was invited to comment. I don't believe we had anybody email us. Yeah, I see Aaron's shaking his head no. Again, we're going to pause here just a little bit because we have a delay in the live version, just to make sure we don't have anybody from the public that wants to comment on this.
So during the pause, I would like to ask, in the feature, the enhancement feature maps, you identify gateways. Can you explain what that is?
Sure. So let me just go back to our, there we go. Yeah, so in this map, those gateways are those hot pink, or they might look red to folks too, little circles. These are areas where, so typically, so I don't know if you've driven, is it here? Yep, here. So here is this is kind of like a gateway into this downtown area, or the Hillcrest Road. There's like a nice sign here, and you feel like you're entering into a different space. So a gateway is any kind of area that lets you know now you're entering into Spenard, for example. So those were identified at these points where folks can, in their vehicle or walking or biking, will go through and realize, okay, we're entering into Spenard. Government Hill has a gateway entering into their neighborhood. My neighborhood, Airport Heights, has signage that lets me know I'm entering into Airport Heights. Does that make sense?
It does. Thanks, Joni.
Okay, sure.
Okay, it looks like we have a comment that's been posted on the chat. Let's see if I can find it here. If you want to go ahead and.
Yeah, it's right here. If you want to go ahead and just read it off and let them know.
There we go. Okay, so this looks like from the Community Council President sharing that the council supports the SCP and urges it for approval today and to send it on to the Policy Committee for adoption. Hopefully everyone can see that. And do we have anybody else that's, no, nobody from the online. Do we have any other comments? Anybody from the Policy Committee listening that would like to comment on this item?
Yeah, Weddleton here. So Joni, how are you incorporating the amendments that came about at the Assembly?
Okay, so your table, and I can pull it up too here. And you should have a table. Here's my screen. An Excel spreadsheet with all of the comments that we received, and those Assembly comments are in the very bottom of that table, since that was our last committee that we went through. So, and I can share my screen here. Let me.
Joni, it's on the screen already if you want to take a look.
Sorry, what? You got it up?
Yeah, it should already be on the screen if you can see it.
Oh, okay, I guess. Oh, there we go. Yeah, so can you see it? I'm sorry. I can't see, or can everyone see my Excel table or the Excel table?
Yes.
Okay, excellent. Well, so this is scrolled to the bottom, but so you can see that the Anchorage Assembly, like the comment that you submitted, John, or that we took at the Assembly, here's the column that says what our staff opinion of that comment was. So in this case, staff agrees. Then you scroll to the right, and then it says, so for all of the Planning and Zoning Commission comments, as well as the Assembly comments, we didn't put those into the plan just yet, but we will incorporate them into the final draft. Long answer. Does that answer your question, John?
It does. I guess we make sure that whatever motion this afternoon would it say approve the plan with these amendments or?
Yes, and I
John,
believe,
it needs to include the Planning and Zoning Commission changes
Right.
plus the assembly changes.
and I believe we, in our memo to you, we stated that, I think in the memo, to approve the plan in its entirety with all of the comments that we've received.
Thank you.
Sure.
Okay, any other comments or questions on this item? Okay. Somebody's next. Okay, what is the will of the committee on this item?
This is Michelle McNulty. I move that we recommend for approval the Spenard, approval of the AMATS Spenard Quarter Plan to the Policy Committee.
This is Shayna Kilcoyne.
Okay, I heard two people jump in there for a second. Who are we gonna have second it? Can we?
One of them was me, Kent Colhayes, John.
Okay, we're gonna have Kent on the second then. Okay, is there a discussion on this item? Okay, no discussion. Are there any objections to approving the motion? All right, hearing none, the motion is approved. Thank you. Okay, Mr. Lyon, are there any other action items?
None, sir.
Okay, then we're moving on to looks like project and plan updates. Do we have any project or plan updates?
None that I know of.
Okay. We're down to general information items. Do we have any general information items?
None that I know of.
Okay. All right, so now the floor is open for comments from the committee. Do we have any comments from the committee? Okay, hearing none, thank you all for your participation, and we're going to adjourn the TAC meeting. What time is it? My computer is acting up on me here.
I have about 3:39, Mr. Chair.
3:39. Thank you very much. Those are the meetings adjourned at 3:39. Thank you. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.